Paly, there is in the College and Career Center, we have this lovely lady that works there, Carla Larson. And if you ever at the College and Career Center, you'll see her working there in the front desk. And she is the staff member that's in charge of all things community service. And she helps manage the Helper Helper platform. You'll find out soon she also is involved with the Naviance platform. And so in addition, because Carla wears so many hats, we have a team of parent volunteers. Trina and I are two of those parents that help Carla with validating the different types of service that the students are out there doing. So just a high level, again, community service at Paly is optional. This is not a requirement for graduation. Can't emphasize that enough. There are some with classes, for example, living skills, and I think maybe team biology class that will have a requirement for going out and doing some community service and logging hours. But that is just for those classes. It is not a standalone graduation requirement. That said, it's still a good idea to log in hours because your student, if they do enough hours, can apply to get the President Volunteer Service Award, which I'll talk about more later. And if they do more than 100 hours of service while they are at Paly, those will show up on their senior transcript. So if they, when they apply to colleges and they're sending their transcripts into the colleges, those transcript hours that will show up on their transcript, and those are just automatically fed from whatever was in Helper Helper gets put on the transcript. What counts as community service at Paly? There is up on paly.net, there is a document that lists in detail what counts and what doesn't. Basically, the point that we try to get through to the kids is we want them out there in the community helping nonprofits, right? We don't want them doing things that just benefit themselves and their friends. We want them out there helping the community. So again, because Paly is a public school, one thing that we make sure that we definitely cannot count are any faith-based volunteering. So if they're an altar boy at church, that doesn't count. And if they're out there lobbying for a certain candidate for different political positions, those hours also will not count. But we do recommend that the kids go and check that guideline document that's on paly.net before they go out there and do the work. Again, this is just talking about what is eligible, working for nonprofits, helping out a nonprofit, that's good. Helping civic organizations, going and working, helping in elementary school, teacher set up her classroom before school starts, that's all great, right? Not eligible, faith-based, partisan, any type of fundraising on their own. We aren't going to give out hours for going and setting up a lemonade stand at the park. Having a club meeting, that isn't going to count. Sitting around talking about all the good things they did, that doesn't count. And then, mowing your neighbor's lawn, also that's not going to count, right? We want them to be working with nonprofit type organizations where there's somebody that can verify their work. Okay, so as Trina mentioned, these hours are being logged into an app called Helper Helper. Every student at Paly has an account at Helper Helper. Not every student at Paly has logged on to their Helper Helper account, but they all have one. And if they have never logged on, this was something that was given to them as a freshman, and many of the freshmen forget to even check their email. So if they don't think they have an account, they do. They just need to reach out to Ms. Larson and ask her to send them a new link. And she'll send them a new link with a temporary password, and they can get right to work. They should enter the community service hours as soon as they do them, because what happens is they forget. They'll do some work, let's say for grassroots ecology. They did it 2 years ago. They can't remember the person that was there at the event, or more likely that person's no longer part of grassroots ecology, and they're trying to get hours verified from something they did a long time ago. So please encourage your students to log their hours in Helper Helper as soon as they have done them. So for example, I know that my old elementary school, Ohlone, just had a fall festival last weekend. All those kids, should have logged in their hours for those times that they volunteered there at that festival. One thing that's maybe not quite as critical for our juniors, but if you have any younger children, just make sure they realize that the service hours that we are counting at Paly are only those hours that they did while they were a student at Paly. So we aren't going to count any hours that they did while they were in middle school. So we do double check that the hours they're submitting are dated after their 8th grade promotion. And we just go based off of PAUSD graduation dates. So if your kid went to a private school, we're not going to find, we figure it's all close, beginning of June of their, going into their freshman year. Okay, this is actually the helper entry process is more for your kids, but just high level, this is what the helper screen looks like. This is a screenshot where the kids are going to put their name will show up here where the volunteer is. They're going to type in what they did, what the organization was that they were working for, and then they're going to type in their hours. Ideally, when they put in their hours, they're going to put it in about 15-minute increments. We encourage that. We do get a lot of 2 hours and 13-minute entries, and that just kind of drives us a little bit crazy when we're trying to add up numbers. It makes it tricky. Some tips for your kids is make sure they put the full name of the coordinator in the coordinator field. We don't want them just to put in, Susie. Susie was the person that helped. We want to know it was Susie Smith that was the person. So in case there's any issues, we can reach out and find Susie Smith. This is a big one. It should not be you as a parent that's confirming the hours. It needs to be somebody from the organization that they were helping. Okay, we will reject it if it's a parent. Make sure that there's no typos in the email address. That's another thing that we get a lot of. Okay. Then the other field that's really important is this message to coordinator field. It makes it sound like they're just talking to the person from the organization, in this case, Emma. It's actually, they're talking to Emma and they're talking to those of us that are validating the hours in the College and Career Center. So we need to know not only what the organization was, but it's nice to know what did they do for that organization. And then what's most important is that they're putting in hours that span more than a day. So it usually triggers anything more than 8 hours is going to trigger us. And we're going to say, wait a minute, this was probably spanned more than a day. We need to know the date range. And this is important, especially if they're doing the President's Volunteer Service Award. Okay. All right. So when they put those hours in, what happens next? When they put the hours in, the coordinator that they entered into that field will get an email saying, Beckett Hannah did 5 hours of work for your organization on this day. Do you approve? And that person has a choice of hitting an approve button or a reject button. So maybe Beckett Hannah showed up and he goofed off with his friends the whole time he was there. They can reject that. Or maybe Beckett meant to put 5 hours in and he actually accidentally put in 50 hours. They can reject it, right? Or they can say, oh yes, this was great. He did a great job, and they can approve it. Once it's approved, it won't look like it's approved yet to the student. And this gets confusing for them because after the coordinator approves it, it comes to the Paly Community Service team and we have to verify it. This gets really tricky during the summertime because we're not volunteering during the summer. So things pile up. And the kids start to get worried that things aren't getting approved. Just assure them that give us a chance to get back to class, get back to our normal volunteering duties, and then we will work on getting them approved. So if they don't see it as approved or green, that just means that it's sitting on my desk and waiting to get approved. Okay, so why are we entering in these hours? There's 2 reasons. One, as I mentioned, is transcript hours. The other is President's Volunteer Service Award. For those kids that do a certain amount of hours within a 12-month period, they can get a President's Volunteer Service Award. If they do it before they're 16 years old, actually at 16 years old and 5 months, they can apply for what's called a Teen Gold Level Award. But even our kids, who most of them I think are 16 or older now, they can also get an award. If they do 100 hours, it's a bronze level award. If they do 175 hours or more, it's a silver award, or 250 hours or more, it's a gold level award. And it can be any 12-month period. It doesn't have to be January 1st through December 31st. If they did their first hour of service on May 10th, they have until May 9th of the following year to get their 100 hours or their 175 hours, whatever it is, into the system. Also, if you think they did 100 hours back when they were 15 and a half, they can enter that information now, as long as they can still get it validated. And we can still give them a Teen Gold Award as long as we can confirm those hours were done. Okay.
Sonia, that speaks to a question we had, which is like, after 30 days, can they still log their hours? And the answer is yes, you can. It's just, in general, the sooner you log them, the better.
It's just best practice. It makes our job easier if they, and their chances of getting it approved better if they do it in a timely manner. And so 30 days is what we picked as a team that we'd like to see it entered in. What we don't like is when, like, let's say next fall, when our kids are seniors and all of a sudden they're like, oh my gosh, I want to get all these hours on my transcript. Oh, I did XYZ back when I was a freshman, and they're trying to get those hours entered and approved. It makes it a lot harder. So please ask them to get those hours entered in sooner than later. Okay, and then if they do want a President's Volunteer Service Award, we have them apply for it. Once they finish their hours, there's a submission period that they'll get notified of through Schoology. Once in the fall, we just finished that back in September. We just finished our final approvals today, actually. So those will be ordered for those of you or your kids that have requested the President's Volunteer Service Award in fall of 2022. Those are coming soon. And we'll have another submission period in the spring. So that'll probably be around February of 2023.
And the kids are notified by that in Schoology, you say?
Yes. Okay. Again, everything goes to the kids. We won't necessarily know. It might be in the Paly link, but it's definitely in Schoology. And so get the kids to read their Schoology. Again, transcript hours are optional, but if they enter in hours into Helper, any hours that they've entered from the time that they left 8th grade until fall of their senior year, if those hours total more than 100 hours, they automatically show up on their transcript. Anything that's been approved. So that's not a 12-month period. That's just over a 3-year period. If they've done 100 hours, it'll show up on their transcript. If they've done 800 hours, it'll show up on their transcript as long as they have entered it into Helper. Okay.
We have another question about how long it takes for hours to get approved. And as Sonia mentioned, it varies. It depends. Like, for instance, over the summer, it might take all summer because we don't have people working on it over the summer. But during the school year, sometimes they get approved right away. Sometimes it takes a few weeks to get to them all because it's like there's a lot.
Yeah, we're more or less caught up now. So if you have kids out there that have things that are not approved, ask them to double check that they've put in their date ranges. There's a lot of things that are missing date ranges. They might need to nudge the organizer because maybe the organizer is no longer there. And so it's just sitting out there waiting to get approved and it's not getting approved because of that. There might be something wrong. So if they think they've entered it, they see it, but it's not approved, they can come by the College and Career Center and talk to Carla, and she can look at their account and tell them what might be wrong. And then this is just my last slide, just again, reiterating that get your kids to read that page about Paly Community Service. It's on paly.net. It walks through every single thing that I just mentioned about community service hours, about entering into Helper, about the PVSA, President's Volunteer Service Award, and transcript hours. The guideline document is important so they can, before they do their volunteer work, they make sure that it's going to count, because all community service is volunteer, but not all volunteering is community service. So I try to drive that home. We will be having a service fair coming up on November 9th. This just happens at lunch, where there'll be a bunch of tables on the quad, or hopefully the quad's sort of under construction right now. But at some place, they're going to have tables set up with various organizations that the kids can go and talk to about service opportunities. And then again, there's Carla's email address in case your students have any questions. So please, again, have this be a student-driven thing. If you as a parent have questions, have your student reach out to Carla and ask the questions.
Okay, Sonia, can you back up a few slides to the one that shows the picture? And so there's a question about how people submit the date range, and it's really helpful if they do that correctly. So they do it in that blue section there called message to coordinator.
Right. So in this column here, you'll see there's a start date at the top. That ideally would be the first date of the work that they did. Let's say that they worked for the entire month of June at Doggy Protective Services at DPS. So they put in 20 hours, but then down here in the message to coordinator, well, this particular person wrote down the exact dates that they worked, but let's say they worked June 2nd through June 28th. They could just say, 6/2/20, well, in this case, it was 2018 through 6/28/2018. So we just need to know the date range, especially if they're going for a President's Volunteer Service Award, because we need to confirm that those hours were done within that 12-month period. That's the reason we ask for those date ranges. And it's just a lot easier for us if they do it up front, rather than us trying to track them down, months or even years later.
Very helpful, Sonia. Are there any other questions that we missed in the chat? I think we might have gotten them, which means, Sonia, you were very comprehensive.
Great.
Yeah, and so we'll be here. Sonia, if you need to go tonight, we understand, but I'll be around. And so if people think of other questions about Helper, I can try to answer them in the chat later tonight. But
I'll stay online in case anyone thinks of something else. And actually, if you guys have questions, again, both Trina and I help on this community service team. So rather than, if it's just a quick question, feel free to pop me a personal DM or email, and I'm happy to help you with any questions.
I think the two biggest takeaways I heard, Sonia, were this is a kid-driven thing. It's really not for the parents to be involved with, other than, encouraging your kid to participate. Remember, parents cannot be the approvers. That doesn't work. It has to be an official person at the organization to approve. And I had some great second point, but I can't remember.
Yeah. Just remember, it's a two-step validation process. So if it's sitting out there not approved, don't have them enter it again. I had one kiddo today that entered something in 4 times because she thought it wasn't getting approved. And that just causes problem on the back end for us. So if they have questions, they can go by and talk to Carla.
Great.
About why it's not approved.
All right. Well, fantastic. Thanks, Sonia.
Yeah.
All right. So now we're going to kind of shift gears from helper to Naviance. And you can see on your screen, Purvi there is with Andrea Ray, who is a former Paly parent. She's got 2 kids who have graduated from Paly and are in college. And she is extremely well-versed on Naviance. And so she's going to talk us through how that's helpful to us as junior parents. So Naviance is the platform our kids will be using as they move through the college or whatever their post-high school plans will be. It's a very helpful platform. They'll be using it a lot more as seniors. The main way we might be using it as junior parents or students is as we research colleges and learn more about what schools our kids might be interested in. So Andrea, I'll turn it over to you and we'll get started. And again, like with Sonia, if you have questions, you're welcome to put them in the chat.
Hi, yes. Well, this is quite a journey that your students and you will begin, and it can actually be fun. So yeah, one of the platforms that you'll be using is Naviance. And so let's get started. So the way we're going to do this is Purvi is logged in as a parent. So the Naviance is available both to your student as a student login, where they will run their own searches, and they do many other things such as, look for majors, look for careers. And you also have a parent login. And as a parent login, you can only see some of the assessments that your child has done. You cannot modify anything. You cannot answer anything or start an assessment. So one of the big things that parents use this for is to search for colleges or to build a college list. So we are going to build a college list. So Purvi's going to do it for, I guess, her junior. And at the junior grade, it's really more for your information rather than a super actionable list, because your student can have a new interest. They can find a new major that they like, or by the time they apply, that is. The GPA can change, the trend in GPA can change. So this is really for you as a parent to get knowledgeable about different colleges and, oh yes, extend your succession. And if you want to do college visits, whether in person or as a virtual visit, this is a good starting point to know at least what the ballpark is for your child. Okay, so what we're going to do is you go to the top, right on the top, and you're going to click on the colleges tab. And what you're going to first pick is to do a college list, which is, I guess, the most important thing that most families look for, is under the Find Your Fit, you want to choose a super match college search. Okay, now you're going to see, okay.
Let's get rid of all these.
Let's get rid of all that. We were just doing a search before we got on. So, okay. So, all right. So on top, you're going to be seeing a whole bunch of filters. So the way Naviance does is that they will ask you for what your filters are. And that's kind of where the art and science of building a college list is. So let's go through one by one. And I'll just give you a little bit of a peek into what I think is important and what I think is not so important. And again, just to let you know, when you build a college list, it's not just like one list. You can build as many lists. And in fact, I encourage that.
And so can you save all these lists, Andrea?
Yes, you can absolutely save these lists.
And if your kids have their own lists, can you view the list that they have made?
I don't think so.
Okay, so the kids will have their own list and you can build your own list.
Yes, I mean, they could share, but I think we should check that.
Okay.
But as far as I recall, they would not allow sharing of lists.
Okay.
And but you could see if they favorited something. Okay. So let's start with location.
Okay,
so location this is where you can do a search either by state, by distance, or if you know the region that you're interested in. So let's start first with, what shall we choose?
West Coast?
Yeah,
since we're on
absolutely,
the West Coast.
West Coast, and it gives you the states that are in the West Coast. Any other?
How about we do the Southeast?
All right, let's do the Southeast. So we're all West and South, nice and warm. Okay, next you come to the campus surroundings, and this is where, and the way they these pop up is that every college every year uploads their information to the Department of Education's database, and that's where these tags are coming from. So they will say, whether they're in a large city, in a small city, and you get to pick, if your student wants to be in a city, in a town, or in a suburb. What do you think?
Let's do suburb near a large city and a small city. Might as well.
Okay. You don't want to add any more?
Let's suburb near a small city.
Okay. So you don't want her in a big city, I guess.
No. Too risky.
Too risky. Okay. So let's go with that. So just to, as you're choosing, you don't want to have too many filters, because the more filters you have, the more restrictive and smaller your lists become. So just keep that in mind as you're searching. But this sounds like a good thing. Let's go ahead. Let's go to academics. All right. So this is where they're saying what kind of a degree would your child like, as well as they are trying to match it with the college. Most colleges offer some kind of either certificate, associate's, bachelor's, master's, or doctorate. So let's go with that. We're going to do a bachelor's, and also let's add the doctoral, because because the way, they've taken that off. Okay, then let's just go with bachelor's. And then you would like to search for majors. Now, I know economics is really popular. What do you think?
Sure. Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
Let's do economics.
So economics. Let's go. Let's go economics general. That's
There
yeah.
we go.
That's nice. Minors? Do you want minors? No, or not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah, let's just go with economics general. All right, let's flow with this. Admission. So this is where they're really trying to match your students' academic profile. So
Yeah,
3.6,
sure.
1350.
Okay.
Okay.
And then
So
acceptance
the
rate.
acceptance rate is the acceptance rate of the institution, and I like to kind of keep this more open because at this point we're just trying to understand what are the different kind of colleges that are going to come up. Obviously, if you choose less than 25%, you're going to get really reachy colleges, and you don't want that right off the bat. More than 76%. I think I'd like to say they're kind of like match safety colleges, depending. But let's keep that open for now.
Okay.
Just keep that open. Accepts AP credits. You know, most colleges accept AP credits. Most colleges that our students apply to, with the exception of UC and just a handful, are on Common App. So I think we could just keep that open. We don't have to check any of those. Okay. There are some colleges that offer no application fees. If that's a filter for you, then you can go ahead and click that. But the nice thing that they have is that there's a small little eye symbol. So let's just see what they, and so you can click on the eye and you can read what they have to say about that filter. So let's go ahead. Student life, again, I think most colleges do offer some kind of internships, co-ops. So I don't think this is a super important filter, so we could just not have it in the first pass.
Especially because we're just making our first list right now.
Right, and you don't want to be too restricted.
Right.
Now, diversity, again, we could keep that open unless, unless you feel very strongly that you want a particular kind of college. Out-of-state students, again, it's so global. It's not like when they say out-of-state students, they mean that it's just California students. Mm-hmm. So I don't think it's a very important filter. Gender concentration, if you're looking for a women's college, that does really reduce your pool. But if your child wants a women's college, then absolutely go ahead. Most colleges are co-ed. I don't know of too many men's college. The male versus female, it's something I don't think we should do, simply because if we look at the statistics today, most colleges, we see a higher percentage of women attending colleges. And again, this is a filter that can throw the lists off key a little bit, because most public institutions are not allowed to offer acceptances based on gender, so they cannot really gender balance. Many private institutions can gender balance. So I tend to just stay away from this and just see what pops up. And again, we can refine it later. Okay, let's go to institution characteristics. Let's do only nonprofit. We don't want any for-profit. So that's good. Public, private, let's look at both. Yeah, we do want only nonprofit. Right.
That's good.
Yeah, that's good. And we can always click the I to see what they have to say, which is only the nonprofit institutions, which is what we want. Are we just looking at 4-year for now? 2-year, 4-year? What would you like?
Let's look at both for now. Why
Let's look at both.
ourselves?
Okay, sure. All right, student success. I don't know what Naviance means by high graduation rate. Let's go take a look at the I. No, let's just look at the I, where 33% of the students complete a bachelor's degree and 58%. It's not a super big important filter right now, because I think the floor is quite open. So let's look at the student body size. This is where Most colleges, again, report what is the size of their student body. And when colleges report it, they report both graduate and undergraduate student body size. So I think they like the default to be all students because that's how the data is reported. And this is one of those important things I think is really important about fit, just like with the location and where geographical region. This is really one of those important ones because I've never seen a student who's very comfortable in a very large setting also be comfortable in a very small setting.
Okay.
So this is one of those places where you really see what works for your child, and you know what would, is your child someone who's going to thrive in a large place or in a smaller place. I do like to add mid-size and medium simply because that is the largest population of colleges that's available. Very large, when you don't choose very large, you're actually taking off all the flagship campuses, public campuses.
So what would a flagship campus be? Berkeley?
Let's say, Berkeley, Michigan,
Okay.
UIUC, Maryland, UVA. I mean, all those. So the moment you uncheck the very large, it's just that, again, I'm not saying you have to, but if you uncheck them, it just means that those big, large flagship campuses are off the table.
Right.
So let's run with this. Let's see. Okay.
All right.
Cost. Cost is something I like to do once I've built the first list.
Okay.
The reason is that the way Naviance does is they look at the tuition fees, room and board, and they are not really asking you about how much you are going to pay. And what you're going to pay is so dependent on your family's income, assets, and the number of kids going to college, at least till this year. From next year, it doesn't matter how many kids are in college, you don't get a break. But it does matter so much about your family's income and assets that it's really hard to make a determination on cost without knowing the net price. And also the cost doesn't take into account merit scholarships. So doing the first filter on cost you can leave money on the table. So build your first list without looking into cost, and then you can start using that filter. Okay. Athletics, if your child is interested in athletics, they're looking to play, and the way they do it is they look at the NCAA D1, D2, D3.
Okay.
So unless they're playing or they're really interested in that club sport, and usually club sports is available if they have that department in,
Right.
But unless you're going into sports, you could just let this go. Resources, most colleges will have some career counseling. They will have remedial services, and they have to have learning differences and other disability services. So again, this is not something to really. All right, so as you can see, as we were going through the different filters at the bottom, they were already building a list. So here's our list. Wow. We have a list.
We have a list.
And so let's just go through what it means. So when you see 100%, what that really means is that this college has matched every one of the filters that you had. That's really, it's the fit score is literally the match percentage. It doesn't mean that it's a reach target or a match safety school. I find it hard to believe that Emory's a match.
Yeah, I mean, it says it very clearly. The average is 3.84, so it doesn't seem like one.
It doesn't seem like one.
Should we go down to see what's not?
I'd love to see a reach school. UVA is pretty reachy. Right.
Mm.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
All right. So let's see, show more. And you can see that it's kind of like they really don't show reach colleges, I guess.
So it's showing 250 results as of now. So this is a large list.
That is the thing. So
and then you start parsing from here.
Yeah.
Or would you do take this and make a separate list?
So the way I like to then do is, this is kind of your master list because,
Okay.
and that day we just selected the West and the Southeast.
That's right.
So you can just do 4-year colleges. You can parse it into very large and large. You can do medium, large, extra large kind of thing.
Okay.
You can do just medium. You can do small college
Mhm.
lists. So you kind of like to have to break it up to make it meaningful, because otherwise with 250 colleges on the list, it's really hard to
Right.
come
Right.
up with an actionable list when we're telling our students to apply to
Right.
12 to 16, 16 colleges.
Oh, is that
Yeah.
right? Is that what the average is, 12 to
I mean,
16?
I think Paly says even less than that, but
Okay.
that's what most students are applying.
Okay.
So yeah, to break it
Okay.
down into 250, but this is kind of your master list.
Okay.
We also had both 4-year colleges and 2-year colleges here.
So you could
So-
take it down to just
right,
4 years.
right.
Okay.
You can save search if you wish
Okay.
and give it a name.
Okay.
And that's right. And then if you want, you can start over.
So you can make another list. Okay.
Yeah, so let's go back and take a look at, for example, if you click on a college name, let's
Okay.
see, Emory or Mercer, whichever.
Let's do Mercer,
Okay.
since it's a small city, it says.
Oh, okay. So now they should be giving you information about Mercer College.
Okay.
Can I
So,
interrupt and ask a quick question based on like that initial list making process? The question is, when you get a big list like that, can you somehow put that in an Excel spreadsheet? A parent wants to know.
oh, you mean, can you just directly
Do a
put it
data
into
dump.
I don't know if they do it, if Naviance allows a data dump, you could just, I guess, copy paste it into an
Okay.
Excel spreadsheet.
Not sure. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't see where they allow Excel dump.
Okay. All right. So here's the information about the individual school
Right.
and what it costs, the graduation rate. All the information is right here. This is
Yeah.
stuff that is reported by the schools. Is that
Yes,
correct? Okay.
That's right.
Okay. So this is all stuff that's reported by the schools, and whatever is information publicly available so
Yes,
far.
it is.
Okay. All right. Should we go back now?
You can just go through the different tabs like studies, student life, admissions.
Okay, so it's giving you all types of what all is offered, and let's see.
All the different degrees that are offered.
So
So you can
all-
just click at bachelor's, for example. And then you'll see which degrees offer a bachelor.
Okay,
I mean, yeah, bachelor's in which degrees.
okay. I guess the doctorate is where it would be probably more, it's
Right.
a smaller list just if you
Right.
do doctorate.
Yeah.
Okay,
And then we can go to student life.
there. Now here you can look at the student body and the details.
Right,
Okay,
right.
okay,
Yeah.
all right.
And then the admissions.
So is this the important page of most of it to start out to see the acceptance rate and everything?
Well, yes and no. I mean, this is where you have to kind of build what's going to be a REACH schools
Mhm.
and ensure that you don't only have REACH schools on your
Okay.
college list. So,
Okay.
so having a healthy balance of target, REACH, and safety schools is really important.
Okay. And there is the last thing.
So
that's
the cost is interesting. I mean, you can see in state, and let's see out of state, what did they have to say?
Here's
No,
out of
because
state.
it's a private
a
school.
private
It's the
school.
same thing.
Right.
Let's
go
so
back and-
so that I just want to draw attention to the net price, and I always encourage families to do the net price calculator. So and this is reported again. This is reported on the, as I said, the IPEDS database. That so right now this is the family income. If your family income was between 0 and 30,000, so if you go to this drop down
Mhm.
and you click some other, just pick up, and you can see how it's changing.
Okay. So as the family income goes up, the price of the school changes.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
Fantastic. All right.
And again, grant aid is, they only report Pell Grant. And it looks like Yeah, they're reporting Pell Grant and student loan because
What is Pell Grant?
Pell Grant is the federal grant.
Okay.
And it's a need-based grant. The federal student loan is again and under the grant, it depends on the college. If they want to report if they have any institutional money that's
Okay.
coming in, then they would be reporting that. So it looks like that this particular, and again, grant, it could be merit scholarship, it could be need-based. So we don't know. So
Okay.
if they don't break it out, and just looking at the difference between a Pell Grant number and the whole grant, I would assume that it's some kind of a merit scholarship that
Okay.
they've shoved into the grant.
Okay. So finer details to parse through all of them
Yeah.
and make sure you know what you're looking for. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Angela, can I take you back to the admissions tab? Because
Mhm.
when we were talking before this meeting, weren't you going to mention something about how the acceptance rate can be misleading because it really does depend more specifically on the department or school you
Yeah,
might be
so
applying.
Okay.
that's a great point that you bring up. So let's go back to our list.
Okay.
Hopefully we can go back. Let's do
All
the
right,
back
let's
tab.
go back to home and maybe
Oh.
we'll just go to the list.
Oh, did we save the? We did save the list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did say that.
So let's go to
Yeah.
colleges.
Colleges.
Where's our list?
Where were we? We were here, college search,
Yeah.
right?
Right. So it should have a list, saved up list. Oh, well, they have it here.
All
Okay.
right.
Let's
Great.
go down and find a,
Irvine? No?
no,
No.
let's not do California.
Okay.
Let's see, keep going.
Florida? No. Boise?
Okay,
UNC?
let's go to UVA, for example.
Okay.
It's my favorite, one of my favorite examples.
Okay.
And okay, oh, that's not okay. Acceptance rate can be a bit misleading in bigger places, and especially for public institutions like flagship public institutions, whether it's, when you look at an acceptance rate like 26, and then we'll do a couple more examples also. And it really depends on the majors. And what we've seen, especially after the last 2 years,
Mhm.
certain majors are even more competitive than other majors. So when they give an acceptance rate, it's kind of major agnostic, which may not be the correct things. If your child is, for example, applying in computer science as opposed to applying in early childhood education, the acceptance rates can be wildly different. So let's go pick up. Let's go to colleges and let's do a college lookup, and that way, I can just quickly let's do a college name lookup. For example, let's look at Purdue. Let's say Purdue.
PUR?
Yeah,
All the way
PUR.
down. Okay.
Oh, let's just do a search up at the top and say Purdue. They're not letting us do a lookup.
Doesn't look like it.
Okay, then we
Keyword
just,
here.
okay.
Okay.
Okay,
Is that
let's,
it? Which one is it?
okay. let's-
Indiana?
No. It's main campus.
Okay. There we go.
And let's look at their acceptance rate is 57%. Yet we know that the mechanical engineering at Purdue is not 57%. So, we'll talk about the scattergrams in
Okay.
a minute.
Okay.
So different colleges, you have to take it with a grain of salt. So depending on the major, it can be really different. Now for private institutions, they accept to the college and not by the major as such. So whatever you're seeing that's pretty much the acceptance rate. It can also be different if you go to a place which is more like a polytechnic. So whether you're looking at a WPI or if you're looking, for that matter, even Georgia Tech, because it's so highly technical and most of its majors are technical. So whatever their acceptance rate is, you know that it's kind of like more global. So it really depends on the college with the acceptance rate.
Okay. So,
Yeah, we can
Is
look
that
at the
it?
scattergrams.
okay, let me see
Where
where,
were we?
where was
We
I?
need to go to admissions.
Admissions.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the scattergrams, I know people love scattergrams.
Do we want to
um,
talk about this?
We'll talk about that
Okay, later.
a little bit later.
Okay.
So scattergrams, I know people love to talk about it, but scattergrams make sense when there's enough of statistical data. So I think it makes sense when you're looking at places where a lot of students have applied and have gotten accepted. So it works beautifully for UCs and some of the publics. But if you pick up a college where not too many students are applying or there are too many acceptances, then it's not a statistically meaningful number or trend. For example, if we take, and we can actually look up after this, if we look at a small exclusive liberal arts school and you see only 5 data points, you really don't know what does 5 data points really mean. Why exactly did they get an acceptance, and especially if you see a spread in numbers. So this is really, it only makes sense when there's a statistically significant number of data points.
Okay.
Now if we go up, yes. So I do know that in 2020 and 2021, it was hard for them to collect data because we were all shut down. So I just feel that the scattergram is a little misleading for the last 2 years, and it's hard to make much sense of it as compared to I think 2019, 2018. So if you really want to look at that, yeah, I think 2018, 2019 makes more sense. And trends are kind of reversing. Colleges are learning how their enrollment patterns are going. And so the last 2 years were an anomaly. And even the way, as you can see, the way the data has been like 5 applied, 46 accepted. Right. It's not kind of like, we don't know what's happening exactly, right? So, and so I think the data is a little skewed in 2020, 21. So look at 19 and 18.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you show us where you find the information on which colleges are visiting Paly each week?
Yeah, we can go back up and we could look at, let's go to colleges and college visits. That's where you can see the college visits.
Oh, these are the colleges that are visiting every year to Paly, is it?
Yeah, this year.
Okay, this year. Okay. So this is, oh, this is showing deadline pass. This is to apply. If you were applying a senior this year, if you were applying.
No, these are the college visits.
Oh, okay.
So that's where it's whatever Paly and, you know, the CCC and the colleges put up.
Okay. And if you click on the details of one that has already come, then you'll see notes. And Sonia, is that where that's where the notes are from the visit?
If you click on the actual Denison University, I think if you click on that itself, right, and it'll bring up that picture. And then if you scroll down just a little bit, see that yellow area there that says counselor comments. That's what the parent volunteers, when they go and sit in on these visits, that's the notes that they're taking and entering it in here. So it's good for your kids to, if your kids are not able to make it to that visit, this is the information that was captured during that visit.
Oh,
Denison, for example, just came today. And so these are notes from last year, but they'll be updated with this year's information in the next couple of days.
Okay, fantastic.
That's really helpful. That's very current, pertinent information.
Yeah.
Thank you. So this is the deadline process to register for as a
to
junior
register
or senior.
to attend
go
the
attend.
yeah.
Okay.
So we have about 5 more minutes. So for everybody out there in the audience, this is kind of last call for questions in the chat. Were you guys, Purvi, were you about to show one more thing, or are you ready for questions?
I think we're ready.
We're ready for questions. Okay. Let me make sure I can get out of this. So where's the stop share? Let's see.
And it's true that if people don't know how to log into Naviance and can't find the code from a few years ago, which was my situation also, you can email Carla Larson and she'll help you out with that. She is a very busy lady, but she will get back to you. Do you guys see the question? Is there a way to work backwards to see schools that have accepted a lot of Paly students in the past?
Yeah, that's there in the scattergrams. The scattergram should have, and I think really they look through the last 5 years. Or you could just go to the CCC and they have records going back, so you can look there too.
Okay. Any last questions? This has been so helpful, Angela. Thank you. I liked how you guys did this as a little test case and conversation. That was a really helpful way to just walk us right through it. Lucy or Angela, could you put our landing page back on just to show people one more time reminders for upcoming things? We have 2 reminders for you all. One is that our next event is going to be a social event at in person, a coffee at the Edgewood Plaza on, where's the date? December 9th, 9 a.m. Mark your calendars. December 9th, 9 a.m. Edgewood Plaza. We'll do coffee and treats and just visit, have a holiday visit. The other thing we wanted to remind you is to sign up if you haven't already for the WhatsApp. It's just another nice way, an informal way to chat with the parents of 2024. If you have a question about something, people are very responsive on there. And we have Spanish language speakers as well as English language speakers. So I think we, can you click the one with a QR code, please? Because that QR code, thanks. You can scan that QR code and join the WhatsApp group if you're not in there already. So mainly I want to give a big, let's see, one more question. My junior didn't get the email from Schoology. Sonia, do you see that last question that came in?
Yeah, I was just typing the answer, but I'm a slow typer.
Okay, great.
So the fall submission period's already over. Just have your junior keep an eye out in their Schoology account. In around February, there'll be another submission period.
Okay, great. Parent Network team here on the call, is there anything else you want to remind or ask or say before we sign off?
Can you, Trina, can you put down a couple of names of the books that were recommended last time? There was one was the FISC guide, and then there were 2 other names that were there. If you remember them, if you can please share them on the chat or on the WhatsApp later on. That would
yes, later on for sure. The FISC guide is like the old-fashioned version of what we were just seeing on Naviance. There's no search feature in there. I mean, although there are, it's like the FISC guide is wonderful. If you don't have one of those, I would get it, and just, it's so fun to flip through if you're more of a hands-on person. I just want to, let's have a big round of virtual applause for Sonia and for Andrila. Thank you for joining us, for all of your expertise and time. And thanks to all of you who attended. It's nice to see you, and we hope to see you for coffee and chat on December 9th. So good night, everybody. If you have other questions, you can hang around till the end, but I think we're going to close out here in the next few minutes.